Now, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the Yakuza franchise. Yakuza 0 was the first one I played, but I had a bloody great time with it. So naturally, I was excited when I found out that a remake of the first Yakuza was coming. Now it's here, Yakuza Kiwami. I'd also like to apologise in advance for all the Japanese words I'm probably about to butcher. Like I said earlier, Yakuza Kiwami is a complete remake of the original Yakuza released on PlayStation 2 in 2005. The story follows Kazuma Kiryu, I don't know. He's released from prison after 10 years for taking the fall for a crime his friend committed. When he returns, he finds that his entire Yakuza family is on the brink of war with itself because 10 million yen has gone missing and nobody knows where it's gone. Oh, and the friend he took a prison sentence for? He's turned into a total arsehole. What's really remarkable for me is that the game's open world Kamurocho, this is going to be a thing, people. It's that the open world feels more alive and varied than any other open world in recent memory. I'm real sick of this bigger open world means better open world mentality in which developers will brag about how it'll take you several years to walk from one side of the open world to the other because it's so damn big, but then they forget to put anything interesting in the open world to begin with. So it's a blast of fresh air to see a tiny open world environment that's 100 times more interesting in terms of visual design, with plenty of side content that's varied and goes beyond your average find quests and other activities such as bowling. And one of the strengths of the story is Kiryu himself. Despite being a Yakuza who can beat the crap out of just about anybody, he's actually rather likeable. He comes across as someone who, despite his job and his co-workers, co-Yakuzas, associates. Unlike his associates, he often handles himself with respect and dignity. He will usually try to defuse a situation before a fight breaks out, shows respect and care for others, and at one point he beats the shit out of a bunch of guys for throwing stuff at a little dog. Oh yeah, and there's that little thing where he spent 10 years in prison to protect his friends. The dude's a goddamn saint in my book. And Kiwami's other big strength is its variety of open world content. There's side quests of course that can involve a huge range of things from finding lost items to getting caught by scammers and exacting your revenge. Then there's other stuff like this weird cat/bug fighting game in which you gather cards scattered around the open world, then use them to play this game which features scantily clad women dressed vaguely like bugs fighting each other. I really couldn't believe what I was seeing the first time I found this game, especially because it's supposedly a really popular game with kids in the world of Kiwami. As Kiryu moves around the small but detailed district of Kamurocho, he'll encounter thugs of many kinds and often have to crack a few heads before he can move on. In fights you'll have 4 different styles you can bounce between freely. Rush, a fast-paced kickboxing inspired moveset, Brawler, an average speed/damage moveset, and Beast, slow but incredibly powerful attacks that will allow you to easily utilise random objects during combat. And then there's Dragon style, which I assume is based on the fighting style featured in the original Yakuza. Dragon is supposed to be an incredibly powerful moveset that earned Kiryu the reputation as the Dragon of Dojima. The problem is that Kiryu was pretty well behaved in prison and didn't really get into fights, so his style and his memory of Dragon has gone a bit soft. And that's where Goro Majima comes in. Now I don't know much about Majima other than that he's been a long-standing character of the franchise and he's a bit mental. In Kiwami he's the centrepiece of the new Majima Everywhere system in which he'll sometimes randomly appear in the world and attack you. Sometimes you'll just find him walking down the streets, but sometimes the setup for encounters can get a little more elaborate. Once he leapt out from underneath a giant cone to attack me. Then one time we went bowling together. Now these Majima fights help you unlock additional dragon moves, so the more you fight him the more moves you're supposed to unlock. The problem was that I think I must have fought Majima over 30 times during the course of the game and I hadn't even unlocked half of the dragon moveset, so as a result I pretty much never used the style. And it doesn't help that the Majima Everywhere system will quickly turn varied fights with him into repetitive time-wasting nonsense, and then also kind of ruin any story-based encounters with him since the odds are that you probably just fought him 5 minutes before it in the open world before you started whatever story mission he shows up in. Otherwise, the fighting is a fun little arcadey style brawler. You start off a rush combo and then finish it with a heavy attack for a little extra oomph. And when combos aren't enough, you can grab enemies, which sets up a variety of follow-up moves. Heat actions that launch into a scripted animation that deals a chunk of damage. You can throw enemies to knock them down, or if you're in beast style, why not just start throwing your enemies around like toys? The average fight usually consists of Kyu and a few bad guys. Brawler style is pretty durable and it works in almost any situation with steady attacks and some good setups for heat actions. But when you're surrounded by items you can use as weapons is when beast style really shines, because it lets you do some pretty crazy stuff like this. Rush style on the other hand is super fast but also fairly weak. It does however have a longer rush combo with more hits that can eventually break through an enemy's guard to set up for the finishing blows. The real trick is mastering the evasive abilities, because during my playthrough I came to the conclusion that rush was the only style that worked during boss fights. That being said, even when I felt like I had a firm grasp on rush style, the boss fights are just bad. Not quite as bad as Mortal Kombat 9 boss fights, but roughly in the same area. Bosses usually have a shit ton of health and an incredibly obnoxious ability to brush off your attacks and then just suddenly smack you mid-combo. One storyline boss fight with Majima was incredibly frustrating, as his combination of wide swinging attacks and quick recovery time made the whole fight a nightmare. And honestly, the main thing I found that works in most of the boss fights is to just simply run circles around the boss and attack when his combo misses. Yet for some bosses they could recover from a missed combo so quickly and then immediately dodge my attempt at a surprise attack and then follow up with a lengthy combo of their own. There's maybe 2 boss fights I actually felt were fair in terms of movesets, but even then, with rush style being so pitiful for damage, it just felt like I could only chip away at their health until they tried to heal themselves, which set me up for Kiwami moves. Ultimately, I still had a good time with Yakuza Kiwami. At its core, it's a serious story about family and belonging. On the outside, it's a batshit crazy game where you can beat a guy senseless with a motorcycle and then go sing some karaoke. Its tone is so consistently inconsistent that I couldn't help but laugh at every ridiculous twist or its over-the-top approach to the combat. But I don't count this as a negative because it just made the game way more entertaining. If you're an outsider to the Yakuza franchise, and this doesn't mean I think you should play Zero first, I think it's better than Kiwami, but Kiwami is still a good place to start if you're looking to dive in. But hey, I'm not a cop, I don't tell people what to do. I'm just going to give Yakuza Kiwami a 3 out of 5 and that's it. So hey, that's my review of Yakuza Kiwami. It's an exclusive to the PS4, alongside Yakuza 0. You can go and get them both right now. They're also lower priced, I think. But they're both really fun games. I'd recommend them. I had a great time with them. I know Owen's had Yakuza 0 for ages and hasn't started it, but has shown some interest in finally getting around to play it every time I've told him about stuff that happens in Kiwami. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Why not leave a comment letting me know what you think of Kiwami or my review? And otherwise, why don't you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll try to keep making more stuff. I know we're a bit inconsistent, Owen and I constantly trying to push ourselves to make content more frequently, but we're still going to make stuff. I just can't guarantee a schedule, I guess. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Sunshine, スリーシャイン、イェイ。歌う姿がセクシーだぜ。